I'm 78 years old, and my children tried to throw me out of my own home. They saw me as a problem to be solved, and my house as their solution. I almost let them do it. Let me tell you what happened. It started with a family meeting. My son Ben and my daughter Chloe came over. Ben laid it all out so reasonably. He said the house was too much for me, that the stairs were a hazard. Chloe had a brochure for a place called The Oaks. They said they wanted to sell my house to pay for it. It's what Mom would have wanted, Ben said. For a minute, I was touched. You see, my wife Eleanor has been gone 2 years. The house echoes. I was lonely. The idea of someone else taking care of things was tempting. But when they left, Chloe's hug felt stiff, and I saw Ben had already taken the spare key from the hook by the door. 3 days later, a man named Mark showed up unannounced. He said Ben scheduled a walkthrough. He tapped my walls, measured my rooms. He opened Eleanor's china cabinet without asking. I called Ben. His voice was all patience. "Dad, we're just moving things along for you." That's when I felt the first cold trickle of doubt. This wasn't about my well-being. It was about the asset. So I called the Oaks myself. The director was cheerful. She said a Holden family had toured. A non-refundable deposit was being prepared. The cost made my pension look like pocket change. The funding plan, she said brightly, was liquidation of the primary residence. They had it all mapped out without my signature. I felt like a cow priced before auction. That night I looked for some old files of Ben's he'd asked me to store. I found credit card debts and a second mortgage notice on his own home. The pieces clicked into a terrible picture. I pretended to go along. I scheduled a dinner to discuss details. Over pot roast, I played the grateful father. I said, "You kids know best." I saw the relief in their eyes. Then I casually mentioned I'd spoken to my lawyer, Hank Miller, about the deed transfer. Ben's fork clattered. "A lawyer? Why, Dad? We can handle this." I said Hank asked about a life estate, letting me live here until I died. Chloe's smile vanished. "That complicates the sale," she said tightly. The mask slipped when Ben snapped. "We need liquidity now, Dad. This isn't about you living forever." The room went silent. Their desperation was a tidal wave in my dining room. The fight that erupted was the first real talk we'd had in years. Ben shouted about his college fund, about how his friends got down payments. Chloe listed every time we chose a vacation over babysitting. My love, my time, itemized into a ledger of slights. They weren't seeing a father. They were seeing an obstacle. "Mom would be ashamed of you," Chloe hissed. That broke my heart. I asked them to leave. Ben said, "You'll be sorry. You can't manage alone." A threat, not a concern. The next week was a siege. Strangers came for wellness checks, saying someone reported a confused old man. A city inspector came about my unsafe porch. Brochures for dementia units filled my mailbox. My own children weaponized the system to force me out. My neighbor saw a man photographing my house. It was Ben's business partner. The pressure was a physical weight. I stopped answering the door. The house I loved was a fortress under attack, and the generals were my own blood. I called Hank Miller for real. Hank is a pit bull in suspenders. He listened, grim. He helped me set up an irrevocable trust. The house and my assets went into it, out of anyone's reach but mine. We made new powers of attorney, naming my niece. He sent a cease and desist letter to Ben and Chloe. The hardest part was the new will. Hank said to leave them each $1. The rest would go to a charity for seniors. Signing that felt like carving my own tombstone. The fallout was immediate. They came together, furious. Ben screamed about being disinherited. Chloe cried a drama of wounded love. Then I played my trump card, a voice recording from our dinner. Their words about liquidity and not living forever were crystal clear. I told them the trust was ironclad. The house would be sold when I died. The money would help strangers. The hatred in their eyes was final. Ben's last words were, "Enjoy dying alone in your museum, Dad." Then they were gone. For good. The silence that followed was immense. But for the first time in months, it was peaceful. It was mine. I hired a live-in companion, a retired nurse named Walter. We play chess. He doesn't want my house. I joined a woodworking club. I made a birdhouse for my neighbor. The family I clung to was a ghost. The real betrayal wasn't their greed. It was my blindness. My belief that love was a debt they'd repay. Letting go of that was like shedding a heavy, wet coat. The house is quiet, but it's no longer empty. It's full of my choice, my peace. This isn't a happy ending. It's a true one. And it leads me to what I need to tell you. If you're over 77 and your kids are suddenly intensely interested in your assets, listen to me. It's not about care. It's about conversion. They see your life as a concluded business, your possessions as liquid stock. They have their own pressures, debts, divorces, failing dreams, and your equity looks like the solution. The parent they love is already a memory. The homeowner in the way is a problem to be solved. Don't confuse guilt for duty or pressure for love. Signing your house over is signing an eviction notice from your own life. The chair will be empty sooner than you think. So what do? You do what I failed to do soon enough. You get your papers in order, with a lawyer who works for you, not your heirs. You talk openly about your plans, without apology. You build a life so full that your house is the least interesting thing about you. And you make peace with the fact that the people you raised may not be the people who see you home. It's a brutal truth, but from this side of it, I can tell you, a peaceful heart in your own home is better than a lonely room in a palace owned by someone waiting for you to leave. Hold your ground. Your life is still yours. Don't give it away. I'm sitting in Eleanor's chair now. The sun hits it just right in the mornings. Walter's making coffee in the kitchen. He's a good man. He asks about my day. He doesn't ask about my will. That's the difference. The silence here isn't waiting for anything anymore. It's just quiet. It's just mine. I thought losing my kids would be the end of me, but it was the beginning of seeing things clearly. The love I had for them was real. The childhoods we gave them were good. But that doesn't mean they get to cash me out. That's the brutal truth I needed to learn. And if you're listening, maybe you can learn it without the heartbreak. Maybe you can just hold on and hold your ground from the start. Maybe you can just hold on and hold your ground from the start. But I didn't, and the cost was everything. After they left that final time, after Ben said that about my museum, I sat in Eleanor's chair for hours. I didn't move. The quiet I'd wanted so badly felt like a vacuum, sucking the air right out of me. I was alone. I had won, and I had lost it all. You see, I started remembering. Not the big fights, but the small things. The way Chloe used to climb into my lap in this very room to read. How Ben, at 8, helped me paint the porch, his little face serious with concentration. I thought I'd given them a foundation. Turns out they just saw the floorboards and counted the nails. They tallied it all up and found me wanting. That's what broke me, not their greed, the erasure. To them, I was already gone. The man who read stories and painted porches was a ghost. The man in the way of their money was the problem. A week after the final confrontation, a letter came from Chloe. My hand shook opening it. Part of me, the stupid, hopeful part, thought maybe it was an apology. It wasn't. It was a printed article about the psychological decline of the elderly who live in isolation. A post-it note was stuck to it. In her handwriting it said, "Thought you should see the research, for your own good. See." That was it. That was the last communication. It was so cold, so clinical. That hurt more than Ben's shouting. It was a dismissal. I was a case study to her. I called my niece Sarah, the one I'd named in the new papers, and just needed to hear a friendly voice. When she answered, I tried to say hello, but my voice cracked. I just started crying. I couldn't stop. I was so ashamed. This old man, sobbing on the phone. She drove over right away. She made tea and just sat with me. I told her everything, the whole ugly story. "They hate me," I said. "My own children hate me." She held my hand. "No," she said softly. "They don't hate you, Uncle Arthur. They just don't see you anymore. All they see is what you have. And that's their tragedy, not yours." But it felt like mine. It was mine. I had to face the hardest truth of all. I had failed. Not in providing, but in preparing them. I had loved them, but I had not made them into kind people. Eleanor and I, we worked so hard to give them a good life. We thought that was enough. We never taught them that a parent's love isn't a bank account, that you can't withdraw from it forever. I failed that lesson. And now I was paying the price, sitting in my empty, quiet, fortified house. That night was the lowest. I looked at Eleanor's picture on the mantel. "What do I do now?" I asked her. The silence was my answer. I was truly on my own. I had my legal walls, but the emotional ones were rubble. I realized I had two choices. I could curl up around this hurt and let it be my whole world. Or I could just live. However many days I had left, they would be mine. Not a waiting room for death, managed by people counting the minutes. My life. It was a small thought, but it was a start. It was the beginning of me understanding that the ground you hold has to be your own, not just a plot of land you're defending. It has to be the ground inside you. And mine had been washed away. I had to rebuild it, alone. And mine had been washed away. I had to rebuild it, alone. So I did, brick by brick. Not with grand plans, but with small, stubborn acts of living. I watered the garden I was told was a burden. The roses bloomed anyway. I fixed the squeaky porch step Ben said was a hazard. It took me all afternoon, and my knees ached, but it doesn't squeak anymore. I started eating at the dining table again, instead of in front of the TV. I set a place for myself. It felt foolish at first, then it felt like respect. Here's what I learned sitting at that table. I was wrong about what I owed them. I thought my final duty was to make things easy for them, to tidy myself away neatly. That's not a parent's job. A parent's job is to live fully until the very end, to show them what dignity looks like. I failed that when I almost let them package me up. Love doesn't mean making yourself disposable. Real love, the kind Eleanor and I had, means seeing the whole person, not just their utility. My kids stopped seeing me. They saw an account number, and I almost let them. So my advice to you, if you're my age and you hear that same reasonable tone, see that same glossy brochure, is this. Don't perform. Don't play the grateful, compliant parent to keep the peace. The peace you save isn't yours. It's theirs. The moment you feel that cold trickle of doubt, listen to it. That's your soul sounding the alarm. Get your house in order, yes, but I mean your inner house first. Decide what you want your remaining days to feel like. Do you want them to be a countdown in a rented room, or a series of mornings in your own chair with your own son? Then get the legal house in order. Find your version of Hank. Pay him. Let him be the bad guy. That's what you're paying for. Your children are not your friends. They are your children. And sometimes, that means you have to be the parent who says no. There is hope. It doesn't look like a family reunion. It looks like quiet. It looks like Walter in the kitchen, asking if I want one sugar or two. It looks like Sarah stopping by with her baby, just to visit, not to inspect. It looks like the birdhouse I made for Mrs. Gable, now hanging in her maple tree. The family you build can be the one you choose, the one that gathers around you not because of blood, but because of simple, present kindness. You still have time, maybe not decades, but now is enough. A week of peace in your own home is worth more than a year of resentment in a cell someone else owns. Rebuilding that ground inside you, that's the real work. And it's work no one can do for you, and no one can take from you. If this story echoes in your life, if you're sitting in a quiet house hearing a clock tick too loudly, I need you to do something for me. First, hit subscribe. This channel isn't about scaring you. It's about arming you with stories so you don't feel so alone in yours. Turn on notifications, because next week I'm talking to Hank, the lawyer, and he's going to explain in plain English the 3 documents you must have before you ever sit down for a family meeting about your assets. If this resonated, if it stirred something in you, tap the like button. It tells the algorithm to show this to someone else who might need to hear it tonight. Most importantly, I want you to talk. Not to your kids, not yet. Talk to us. In the comments, tell me one thing you love about your home. The morning light on a certain wall. The tree you planted. That's your ground. Start by naming it. And share this video. Not to shame anyone, but because this brutal truth is whispered in too many quiet sunrooms, and it needs to be shouted. We have a story submission form linked below. If you have a tale of holding your ground, or a lesson learned the hard way, tell us. Your story could be the lifeline for someone else. There's also a book I recommend, a straightforward guide to elder law written for regular people, not lawyers. I'll link it. It's not an affiliate link. I don't get a dime. It's just a good book. This is my story. It's not a tragedy. It's a warning and a blueprint. The chair isn't empty. I'm sitting in it. The sun is warm. The house is quiet. And the peace, this hard-won, complicated peace, is entirely my own. Hold your ground. Your life, all of it, is still yours. Don't give it away.